He wants to smear me, push me off the stage because he can't argue face to face, man to man. Kraut, at heart, is a coward. And like a coward, he wants to dox me. Like a coward, he tried to dox Rage After Storm.
Amongst most YouTube communities, doxing is seen as a cardinal sin, and not everyone agrees on what doxing is. A commonly accepted definition of the term is revealing personal information that wasn't already available to the public, such as your home address, phone number, or legal name if you primarily use an online alias. Usually the intent is to bring harm to that person. Some have more liberal interpretations, considering such things as connecting two accounts as one operator to be doxing. It can be complicated, but most people can agree releasing phone numbers, home addresses, and other private information would be doxing in the first degree.
The YouTuber Kraut and T is planning on doxing me. Doxing means, of course, revealing personal information about somebody who's online. Now, I know for a fact that he's going to dox me because he said so. He said that he's going to do a piece about me. And on different streams, he has referenced private information about me.
This next section is a bit convoluted on the account of how many characters are at play during this scenario. Many dominoes had to fall to create the dumpster fire that would transpire over a few months. The main character at play goes by the name of Kraut and T. An Austrian-born high school dropout who resides in Germany and initially focused his channel on criticizing social justice warriors, like many of the skeptics that came before him. He slowly started to shift his focus to the alt-right and their predilection for race realism. The only issue for Kraut is while that he masquerades as an intellectual, Kraut was unable to even finish primary school. But for many people on the internet, having an accent adds about 2 standard deviations to your IQ. But having a limited education, Kraut was forced to rely on scientists that he found online, putting him at a severe disadvantage against neuroscientists like JF Jarepi and even sometimes an enthusiastic teenage girl.
Compare that to an R-type like the common European trout. Its reproduction happens through the trout swimming upriver to mate. The male does not remain with the female. The pregnancy is very short, with the female.
Brown trouts do not get pregnant.
The second character in this debacle is Rage After Storm, a young woman who saw her channel grow exponentially in a short amount of time after making several videos about politics. She is a charming and articulate girl who can give the viewer a break from the many hairy, fleshy things we are used to looking at on YouTube. Most of her commentary was of the same political lines as other YouTube skeptics, seeing her welcome into their community with open arms. That was until June of 2017, when she uploaded a video entitled "Race is Real." This would create a swirl of controversy amongst the skeptics, their biggest grievance being that her video cited the Daily Stormer amongst her sources twice. The Daily Stormer being known as the prominent forum where neo-Nazis gather to discuss their politics. The website is no longer hosted online, so it's impossible for me to look at the sources that she listed and see the nature of the material.
So, after many of you have speculated about my stance on race, especially my recent one, I've decided to make a video about it. Because heck, I love talking about things that will probably get me kicked off YouTube and every other social media website. Racism, it's an interesting lexeme.
Rage After Storm's video would release on June 24th, and a mere 5 days later, Kraut would tweet to a company called Kipper Central, which Rage After Storm worked for as a contributor. Within 3 hours, Kipper Central replied confirming that they were looking into Rage After Storm and her video. And after some pressure from the CEO of Starfish Media, a company significantly larger than Kipper Central, they announced that Rage After Storm would be suspended and disavowed. Rage After Storm would quit the internet a month later, with Kraut now emboldened to lead an all-out assault on what he saw as the alt-right and race realists.
Oh my god, the fact that I gathered this data on Coach Red Bull is gonna bite me in the fucking ass because he knows I gathered it. Where the fuck is Jeff Holiday now? Is this Sargon telling me to stay in my place? Jeff. The data I gathered on Coach Red Bull is now being used against me essentially. They think.
What do you mean?
That's the thing. Like, the first thing he brought up, why are you gathering private information, like for example on Coach Red Pill?
It's not private information.
What happened next is deserving of a video all of its own. There are many details to go over, so I will try to be as brief as possible. Kraut started what was essentially a war room for him and his associates to plan battle tactics in their Spurg war against the alt-right. They went as far as to discuss and name operations, as well as planning to manipulate and puppet larger YouTubers.
So there's been this mighty shit show going on, which mostly I've been out of because I've been moving. Kraut and T decided that he was going to take on the alt-right over race realism. And let's be honest here, genetics, sure, genetics are a real factor, no question. But the folks who tend to walk down this path seem to be heading towards the eugenics route on almost as flaky grounds. Which was kind of my whole problem with Kraut when he came to me asking if I would get involved because I was an academic and all. So when Kraut contacted me on Skype that he was taking on the race realists, that's almost all I knew. I hadn't seen any of his videos, I was moving and was way too busy to get involved in any of the details. And even if I hadn't been, I've seen these sorts of collaborations before, and almost always they're more trouble than they're worth.
The base of operations for this group would be Discord, and they would name themselves the Task Force. This group would produce a target list with many notable names, and the goal of gathering as much information on these characters as possible. One of the first people to be affected would be Coach Red Pill. Coach had criticized Kraut in the past, having become accustomed to criticizing members of the skeptic community. His criticism started with Kraut's actions during the Rage After Storm incident, and moved on to Coach claiming that Kraut fakes his English accent in order to sound more intelligent. He also states that Kraut's tweets demonstrate that he wants to be known as a ruthless man, someone who would be cruel in order to achieve what they want, but his later actions show that he is not ruthless, but actually a coward.
It actually reveals a very important lesson that I want you to learn. This is actually a very important post that I'm sticking up. I want you to pay attention to it, because even though we're going to be talking about a trivial incident. Now, Kraut and T is I think he's late 20s, German. He speaks English. Smirk. I didn't really care for his content, because I didn't really care for his voice. And the reason I didn't care for his voice is that I realized something almost immediately when I listened to him. He's faking his accent. You see, the kind of accent that he uses, or he tries to use rather, is known as RP, received pronunciation. Now, received pronunciation is not a regional accent. In point of fact, it's a social accent, if you will. It's the form of speech that British upper class kids learn in private school, usually boarding school. And then I heard this stream, and I actually paid attention to it after I'd done my post on Rage After Storm. I listened to the stream carefully, and I noticed that Kraut and T didn't go for Rage After Storm's points in the video. He went after the sources for her information, but he didn't really dispute her argument. Kraut and T was just going around on the edges, on the fringes of what Rage After Storm posted in her video, and going after the fact that she had quoted the Daily Stormer, which I myself said was stupid. But he went after that point as opposed to her actual arguments. Kraut and T had contacted Rage After Storm's employer and advising the employer via tweet if he was aware of Rage After Storm's ideas. Yeah, I'll quote the the tweet that Kraut sent. It said, Kipper Central, you might want to look into the views of one of your contributors, Rage After Storm. It just seemed like he was trying to break Rage After Storm's rice bowl. You know, we consider it hitting below the belt, as it were. Now, this tweet is very interesting for two reasons, and we should talk about it. And it's the point of this video, as a matter of fact. You see, the first thing is that it showed that Kraut and T, it signals that Kraut and T was a ruthless individual. All right. Now, what is ruthlessness? It's important to define exactly what you're talking about. You see, ruthlessness is the ability to set aside your morality and carry out those wrong or even malicious and cruel acts necessary to secure your interests. A truly ruthless man is not very common, and you learn to fear him, and you should. He was basically doing a fairly ruthless act, trying to break Rage After Storm's rice bowl, make sure that her employer dropped her. It later turned out, parenthetically, that this employer didn't really pay her, but they did drop her. But they didn't pay her, so it, insofar as money, insofar as her rice bowl, it doesn't really matter. But see, Kraut didn't know that when he sent this tweet. He was trying to get her fired, trying to get her to lose her income. Blonde was right to call him out on it. If you send a tweet to somebody's employer to get them fired, well, it's a hit or miss thing whether they're going to read that tweet. I mean, lots of people tweet to me and I don't see them. The point is, see, a tweet is sort of like a hit or miss way of communicating with somebody. I mean, an email would be much better now, wouldn't it? So on the one hand, he's sending this tweet to get her fired. So he wants her fired. But on the other hand, see, it's a tweet, so it's public, so everybody can see it. Everybody can see the tweet. What does that mean? He wants everybody to know that he is ruthless enough to try to get somebody fired. Well, then yesterday, he put out another tweet. And this is the tweet that made me despise him. This is the tweet that I thought to myself, this Kraut and T is not a man. This man, this thing, this person is a coward. And I will read you this tweet. I'm quoting here. I find it fucking hilarious that some of you compare a tweet I made to the letter writing campaign Thunderfoot had to endure. This was a letter writing campaign that Thunderfoot, the noted vlogger, had to endure because somebody tried to get him fired from his job. And the best about all of this, question mark, wait for it, ellipses point, wait for it, ellipses point. I actually contacted her employer who told me in person that I am in absolutely no way responsible for her being fired and making it absolutely clear that it was their decision. So we have two tweets. On one hand, he tries to break Rage After Storm's rice bowl, get her fired, which is very, very serious. But then yesterday, when he got criticized for this original tweet of him trying to break Rage After Storm's rice bowl, what does he do? He backtracks. He backtracks and he calls Rage After Storm's former employer, who didn't pay her, it was apparently a volunteer position, calls them up to get them to tell him that he had nothing to do with her being fired. Kraut and T is a coward.
At this point, it did not seem that the people were aware of Coach's past and who he was, even though he was a published author, film director, and had a public online presence for quite some time. Coach being on Kraut's hit list for what I can only assume is feeling slighted, since Coach's videos do not focus on race realism, but more on boorish advice to young men. Kraut would allegedly forward Gonzalo's legal name and history to several people, first of which was Jeff Holiday, who mistakenly called Gonzalo Gus on Twitter misremembering the name as Gustavo. The tweet was a clear attempt at a threat. The second person, who was named the Guardian, would take said information and forward it to King of Pole, who would promptly post it on Kiwi Farms.
That's a pretty weak association from this evil doxing that's going on and all the shit that's been happening lately to I called him Gus once, maybe twice.
If it's enough to trigger fear in the other person, it's an act of extortion, Jeff.
Do I scare you, Coach? Do I scare you?
I think I'd scare you if we met face to face. That's why I don't think that we'll ever meet face to face.
And then I guess there's no intimidation there, now is there?
You wanted to smear and humiliate me.
Really? How? Prove it. When was I going to do that? How was I going to do that?
No, you're right.
Prove it, dude. Like honestly, prove it. Is it so hard that you can't
Listen.
look?
I've got bigger fish to fry.
Take my.
Okay? You're over.
Take my video. Take one of
It's a
those.
waste of my time to be talking to you because you're over.
Argue one of my points or argue one of my videos. Don't just make up shit about me because you can't argue against me. Like that's a pussy maneuver, dude. I don't understand why you can't be a fucking man about this. I mean, I know you're a con artist. I know you're a con artist. That's fine.
Okay. Sure.
Can you just not be a pussy about it?
You know something? I'm gonna go to the Kilroy event.
Okay, good. Come to the Kilroy event.
I'm gonna go to the Kilroy event and I'm gonna look you up.
Okay. Look me up. I'll be easy to find. I'll be all over the place doing
I'm
panels.
sure you'll be easy to find. And I'll be easy to find. Andy, I'm done with this guy. Is there any reason that he's still on?
So when you when you find me at Kilroy, that you were just saying, Coach, that you come find me at Kilroy, what are you gonna do when you find me? You gonna give me a big old sloppy kiss? Mwah?
You'd love that, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, I love older men.
There's a kiss for you, baby.
So what are you gonna do? You saying you're gonna come and you're gonna find me at Kilroy? What are you gonna do? We're gonna have a chat. You gonna buy me a burger?
You'll be talking, but I won't be talking much, probably.
Okay. So you're gonna patiently sit there and you're gonna listen and absorb everything that I have to say, and that'd be great. Cool. Sounds good. Is that it? That all you're gonna do when you come to Kilroy, man? Oh, Andy knows I can get pretty mean to people sometimes in real life.
Are you threatening me with violence?
No, I'm just saying I'm a
You just said
mean-spirited
that
person.
you're a mean-spirited person. Does that mean that I go there to Kilroy and you're going to try to beat me up? Is that how you operate?
Well, he might
Are you
insult
gonna-
you. Being mean can mean also insulting. But
You can almost hear it in his head. He's like, oh no, I just got caught making this weird threatening thing. Now
Okay,
I'm masterfully sneaking around this language.
Are
wait,
we going to continue with this bullshit or are we going to move on?
What the fuck is this dude even talking about? God, no, I really want to know. What are you gonna do? You're gonna show up to Kilroy. What are you gonna do?
You gotta punch my little whiskey tango face in, huh?
I think if anybody had that information on Coach, it was probably all gathered from that forum post all around. The thing is, too, is like getting somebody's personal information necessarily.
Wait. On the dates that Kraut said that he knew my name, that was, I think, something like 10 days or 12 days before that stuff appeared online.
Well, I honestly don't know. As like the thing is, like I said,
No, I know. So Kraut had that information before it appeared there.
because I don't care to look, I will believe you. But again, like I found it by fucking accident, dude. And like you've also posted your address on your Patreon. Somebody told me that. Like, I mean, it's not like you were aggressively trying to hide your stuff, and it's fine, man. Like I put my name out there all the time too. The thing is that if somebody has your information but they don't do anything with it, then like I don't get it. Like I've been doxxed like fucking dude, I don't know, like 9 or 10 times in the past 2 days.
You are a doxer.
Yeah, I'm not a doxer.
You just admitted that you had my name and that you used it in at least 2 tweets.
Yes, it was. What, you think I wrote that article? Jesus fucking Christ. But King of Pole himself was even talking about this just last night. Just fucking last night.
I got better things to do. Okay. So, JF.
Why aren't you mad at King of Pole? Why are you trying to like put this on me?
Excuse me, I'm trying to speak here. JF, it would be great. Let's catch up sometime later in the week or something.
Yeah, it was great talking to you.
It was great talking to you.
Coach, why you have
What? Because it's a waste of my time. Why am I talking to this individual?
Typically, I would not consider connecting two public personas as one person a dox. Telling someone that Jack from Titanic is actually Leonardo DiCaprio is not doxing Leo. But most people see doxing as more than just information. It's the intent that truly makes doxing wrong. Doxers share information on people in the hopes to bring harm to them. And it's pretty clear that Kraut had malicious intentions when sharing Coach Red Pill's information. Coach would respond to this with a video entitled, "Kraut Plans to Dox Me."
The YouTuber Kraut and T is planning on doxing me. Doxing means, of course, revealing personal information about somebody who's online. Now, I know for a fact that he's going to dox me because he said so. He said that he's going to do a piece about me. And on different streams, he has referenced private information about me. Stuff that did not come out of Coach Red Pill, but came out of my actual name, okay? Certain relationships and certain events in my past. And he's planning to dox me, and I have a pretty fair idea of where he's going. He's gonna go in 3 directions. He's gonna, number 1, say that I am secretly some sort of like alt-right secret agent, because I have, and he's gonna say that I have long-standing ties with Richard Spencer that go back almost a decade, which is actually true. And he's also going to say, the second charge that he's gonna level at me is that I am a thief, and that I am a dodgy businessman, and that I have cheated people out of their money. And he's going to reference a former business partner of mine who embarrassed himself and me, frankly, by spewing out a lot of nonsense online. And he's going to reference that as a second charge. And the third charge, I'm pretty confident he is actually going to reference a video that I made, a storytime video about something that happened to me when I was in college, and he's going to use that, something horrible that happened to me. I was falsely accused of sexual assault and sexual harassment. He's going to say, no, I'm not doxing anybody. It's out in the public realm. Everybody already knows about it, you know. Because what happened, there is a dossier on me that links Coach Red Pill with my actual name, and also with a previous online ID that I had that, well, I'm gonna get into that in just a second, but the point is, see, this dossier is up on one of those like, you know, like doxing sites, basically. And the thing is, see, that dossier is up because it was assembled by Jeff Holiday, who's a good friends with Kraut and T. And Jeff Holiday passed the information along to a, you know, minor 4chaner who uploaded this dossier onto this doxing site. And so Jeff Holiday passed it to this 4chaner, and so it's the 4chaner who did it. Jeff Holiday had nothing to do with it, even though Jeff Holiday knows my name because he tweeted about it, you know, and I have copies of those tweets. Anyway, Kraut is going to say that he's not actually doxing me because the information is in the public domain.
One thing that should be noted on Coach's response to the information about Steve and Keen and their business relationship is that Lyra keeps it very vague, claiming it's simply smears, while Keen, on the other hand, provided detailed accounts and emails as evidence of Lyra's shady actions. This seems like an attempt to mitigate the damage done to his reputation if his audience were to read Keen's accounts.
The other thing was that I had a business deal, because as I was doing this blogging thing, I thought it'd be like a fun idea, potentially lucrative idea, to set up a subscription model, which is basically what all of media is doing now, because they realize that through advertising they can't make it. They need to do a subscription model. And I explored that idea, and I worked with a couple of people, and it didn't work out. It was a bad business deal. And I worked with one professor of economics, of heterodox economics. I'm not going to name him. This man was going through a rough time. He'd just been fired from his university position. I never quite knew why. After the end of that relationship with this individual, I have my suspicions, but they're just suspicions. I'm not going to air them out here. But my point is, I invested like $25,000 in this man's site. You know, overall in this business with you know, the whole thing, I invested a lot of time and money in it. you know, and it didn't work out. Or let me phrase that. It didn't generate the revenue that we had hoped for. And he decided that he wanted to get out of the deal, and there we had a contretemps, right? And we had a disagreement, like business disagreements happen. I didn't steal money from him. I invested a lot of money. I lost money on this thing, okay? Well, no. At the end of the day, I came out ahead like, I don't know, 10, 15 grand. This guy came out ahead like 40, 50 grand, okay? Because I was eating the costs of doing this paid subscription model. I mean, he did very well for himself, but spilt milk, water under the bridge. This asshole, during the dispute that we had, he put up a whole series of posts about it, smearing me for no other reason than to put pressure on me, and it didn't succeed because I couldn't give a shit, right? Okay, so that's the second charge, and that happened back when I was doing it. I don't know, what did I do after that?
Also take notice that Coach intentionally only refers to Kiwi Farms as the doxing website in order to further obfuscate the source of these claims. These actions would seem contradictory to his claim near the end, where he says it's the intent Kraut had, not the information that really upsets him. I believe this to be half true. He is offended at the actions Kraut took, as anyone should be, but I believe he knows as an internet personality, your reputation is very important. Coach also stated that since he is his own boss, there is no way that this information can affect his life. This will be something we will find later to be either a complete lie or a little bit of overconfidence on Coach's part. If the information leaked on Kiwi Farms had only included the false rape accusation and the alleged ties to Richard Spencer, I doubt Coach would have been as upset as he was about this. These two things are very easy to explain, yet he spends the longest time addressing them in the video, while the most complicated issue and the one with the most evidence available was quickly brushed off.
He's committing suicide. He's killing his own channel. He's killing any credibility he might have in the YouTube community. Everybody thinks he's a fool because he is a fool. And not only that, this attempt of his to dox me, to hurt me, he seems to think that I have a boss. That, you know, some doxing of information about me, some embarrassing information is going to affect me somehow. I don't have a boss. I've never had a boss. I've never punched the clock for somebody else. I've always been the boss of whatever I'm involved in. I'm the guy in everything I'm involved in. Because that's me. That's how I roll, right? But he thinks that by doxing me, he's going to embarrass me. He's going to embarrass me, I don't know, with my boss, which I don't have, or with my family. I've done bigger shit than whatever Kraut has to say. You know, a lot of stuff that I don't tell you guys, right? Pretty nasty shit, some of it, right? Because I'm an asshole. I'm a son of a bitch. I told you guys, right?
Coach may be his own boss, but that typically relies on you having a good enough reputation to maintain business relationships that are mutually profitable. If a business relationship is ended due to this type of information being released, that is about equivalent to being fired, and may actually be more of a monetary loss in the long run. King of Pole, the Kiwi Farms user who uploaded the CRP docs, would later go on to a stream with Coach Redpill in an attempt to debate him for what I assume was the Stephen King website debacle. This never happens though, as Coach immediately tears into King of Pole with every boomer insult a man can muster up in what is one of the most entertaining recordings of Coach Redpill on the internet.
Alright, let's play it right now.
About some sob story, you fucking little faggot, and you got no balls, you're not a man. You're a fucking faggot gay bitch. Okay? And you should just be happy that you have the miserable little fucking life of a what is it, a minimum wage fuckhead? That's what you are, you fucking piece of shit. Listen, you queen of paws. You're nothing. You're a fucking bitch. You have no balls, you're not a man. And you lie about people and you say things that aren't true, and then you come around and say that you're a fucking victim, that other people have a problem with you and you don't know shit. You didn't do nothing, you little fucking faggot. You're a little bitch who should die. Listen, you queen of paws, motherfucker. Why don't you go and get yourself paws, get fucked up the ass like you so much love by some gay faggot with AIDS, and die, you miserable bitch. Huh? This is boomer roasting. Clear it up for you, you son of a bitch. Huh? I'm sorry. Do you hear me, motherfucker? Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't hear me? I didn't speak up loud enough? You faggot cunt chugger? That's what you are? I bet you are a fucking little pedophile asking people for dick pics? You know, you're a fucking faggot, disgusting shit! Die, you queen of cows, motherfucker!
Okay, Coach, I don't know what your fucking problem is, but I'm gonna take a guess.
Yeah.
Because I went on the Kumite and called you out and said I want to debate you. Because I think
that was debating now, you cunt-chugging faggot! Hey, I'm not gonna send you a dick pic, bitch, except the dick up your ass, you fuckhead! Oh, man! Oh!
I'm trying to cut to you, man. You're just freaking and kind of spurting, so calm down a little bit.
Sports isn't dead.
I went on the Kumite.
Okay.
I wanted to talk to you specifically because I was contacted by some fucking economist.
Yeah,
and
yeah. So we're done here, okay? Guys, on this chat, I gotta roll. It's been great chatting with you all. Josh, very interesting talking to you. I'd love to talk again. Everybody,
anytime. See you later.
Everybody, take it easy.
Later.
Do notice that the moment King of Pole mentions an economist got into contact with him, that Coach leaves the stream. Again, reinforcing the idea that Coach would much rather people not know about his history as an economist, which seems to be the part of his past that contains the most controversies. Coach wasn't done there. He would continue to make a few more videos about Crowd and his doxing server, explaining the implications of what Crowd is doing. That even though Coach feels invulnerable to the effects of these attacks, other people are not so lucky. The ramifications of people contacting your employers, if YouTube is not your main source of income, can be devastating, as well as being subjected to property damage or violence by those who disagree with your right to speak.
The way things are in my life, I am pretty much bulletproof. I don't have a boss, I don't have to answer to anybody, I do whatever the fuck I want. But a lot of people whom I respect, they have real jobs in the real world. They have real responsibilities. If it came out that they're doing the work that they're doing on YouTube, their lives would be destroyed. And that's what Kraut and his skeptic goon squad were trying to do. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about what's going on. A little over a week ago, I claimed that Kraut and T was planning to dox me and to smear me with old accusations about different business deals and that I was a secret agent of the alt-right and shit like that. A lot of people to that said that I was being all paranoid, that Crowd had no intention of doing that, it was all in my head, that, you know, I was practically hearing voices and seeing little green men, you know. Lo and behold, it turned out that Crowd was running a Discord server that had a whole bunch of people working on it, a lot of skeptic people working on it. A lot of skeptics had access to this private server. And the intent of this private server was very simple. It was to gather personal information about people who were in the alt-right and people who were too friendly to the alt-right. Gather this information, this personal information, and use it against them. In other words, it was a doxing and smearing Discord server. A large swath of the skeptic community was supporting Kraut in an effort to dox and smear people. People that they didn't like, people that they considered unfriendly, people that they considered alt-right. And what they were doing was just, you know, SJW tactics, but taken to an extreme. This was a systematic effort to ruin people, to ruin a lot of people, for no other reason than because Kraut and his skeptic goons didn't like what they had to say.
Not only that, but Kraut had invited a reporter from the New York Times into his Discord who was likely looking for alt-right figureheads to write about in what one could only assume would be a perfectly honest and not biased article.
It gets worse. It turned out that these people, Kraut and his skeptic goon squad, they were in touch with a journalist from the New York Times, a woman named Amy. Now, this woman, this journalist for the New York Times, she was talking to them. Why do you think? What do you think would be the purpose of them talking to her? Why do you think that they giddily identified themselves to her and explained what they were doing? Because they wanted to pass along personal, private information to the New York Times about the target of their doxing and smearing campaign, exactly the same way that Millennial Woes was doxed and smeared and driven out of Scotland. Exactly the same way, only on a bigger stage. They were going to use the New York Times, and it wasn't going to be just one alt-righter. It was going to be a whole bunch of them, and not even people of the alt-right, people that were sympathetic to some of the problems that the alt-right was pointing out. Sometimes people that Kraut and T and his skeptic goon squad simply didn't like. They were going to dox them and have the New York Times smear them across the entire mainstream media landscape.
Coach would then declare his own little war on Kraut in the form of videos discussing the controversies, complete with Coach's signature flair for the dramatic. A picture of David and Goliath accompanied by a chuggy rock guitar act as Gabriel's trumpet for Coach's future project.
Videos about the scandal start tomorrow.
Fire would quickly dissipate though, and Coach would opt for a single video instead of a meticulous and calculated assault on Kraut. By this point, Kraut had already abandoned the internet in shame due to the backlash caused by his actions. Coach no longer felt the need to take down an already fallen enemy, and instead changed his mood towards a more paternal way. He applauded Kraut's energy and focus and encouraged him to find a path through his rough patch, likening this situation to friends from the past who had committed suicide while facing a similar destructive phase. But given Coach's manipulative tendencies, one can't help but wonder if this is really just a calculated move to give Kraut one more kick while he's down, by suggesting that he has been shamed to the point of self-annihilation, while an egotistical and stubborn Kraut would be unlikely to accept that reflection, which is reinforced by the video Kraut released a near year later, likening Coach to a cockroach.
Fuck that shit. Most of the shit that happened to me 7 months ago centered around Braving Ruin and this guy, who calls himself Coach Red Pill. And it is arguably this guy who is the biggest piece of shit I have ever encountered anywhere at any time. And I will show to you why. The entirety of the drama around him hinged on one accusation by him. That being that I had doxed him, that I dug up his real name by some illicit scheme and dark ways to fuck him over. The problem with that is, his real name literally was in the description of his YouTube channel. Not once, but 3 times. In his email, in his Patreon, and in the pathetic signature he leaves in the description of his channel. He ends every video with a copyright notice from a company that, if googled, leads directly to his name. He even made a video titled "In His Address." And when I happened to google that name and the company and Braving Ruin did his drama, he deleted his name and claimed they were never there. What this moron doesn't know is that I made an archive before he deleted it.
This would bring an end to the Kraut and T saga. Coach would move on to what he referred to as Season 2, deciding not to withhold on the pretentious theme of his videos.
I experimented with different approaches, and they sort of failed because it just wasn't my style. My style was, and still is, minimalist, trying to get the most out of just a specific location. Because what happens is that when I go out into the world and try to film stuff on the street, I try to make it perfect, and it doesn't work out. And so it's just better for me, and so far as my temperament as a YouTuber, to just have a little studio space and try to get the most out of that little studio space. Now, back in, the channel started, as I said, in March, and in late April, early May, I really started posting. And really in June, July, that's when I really started getting going. And at one point I was posting a new video every day.
Coach's content is not of much interest to me. There are times when he can give a good bit of advice, and there are other times where the video seems to be nothing more than clickbait. Overall, the content just starts to blend together in a mind-numbing mess of boomer anecdotes and truisms. There are a few videos that stand out to me though. One is a teaser to a video behind his Patreon wall, with the topic being of anal sex.
So, I just finished recording a video about anal sex that I'm putting up on my Patreon channel. The link to Patreon to my Patreon channel is below. Now, of course, I'm not going to be running this on the YouTube channel, on my regular main channel, because I'd get a community guideline strike, for sure,
This makes me curious if he expects his children to subscribe to his deceased Patreon account in order to get this nugget of life advice. Another is a video entitled "Autism is a Choice," in which he tells nearly a 10-minute story about a dog he owned before declaring that autistic people are solely responsible for their inability to socialize. Quite a hot take, but all of this fails to be nearly as entertaining as Coach's affinity for drama.
bitch-made trout. Yeah, the two favorite retards of the internet together at the... Kraut did another video.
Kraut! So you're coming out of your hovel to talk to Medicare, huh? Okay, this is a public statement. I want to be on that stream. And if you put up any condition, I'll call you a fucking coward.
Yo, the quarterling, the little fucking faggot, flagged. And I'm gonna re-upload it on this channel. What the fuck, why not? Fuck the cocksucker.
Quarter pounder? Is that the fuck stick we're talking about today? Yeah, so on the Ralph retort, right? They had this faggot guy crying while he's talking to Brittany Venti, right? So I go on the kill streak and I say that the guy is a fucking pussy, right? And see, so many fucking faggots, right, say that because I don't like hop on the stream and start talking shit about Brittany Venti, then, you know, I'm some kind of like white knight. Oh, god damn. I mean, like, you know, it's not that, you know, putting down one shithead, one faggot pussy bitch who had a meltdown in front of a woman like this asshole did. It doesn't mean that I'm like on Brittany Venti's side, okay? Because I'm not. Brittany Venti's a whore, you know?
Andy Worski is four things. Andy Worski is a retard. Andy Worski is a faggot. Andy Worski is a liar. And Andy Worski is a piece of shit. Let me explain.